coming up on The Source.
This man was beaten to a pulp. People have compared him, the beating, to that of a human pinata. It has become an epidemic.
For this boy and if you look at the reporting on this, let me just back up a little bit.
Yeah.
If you look at the reporting on this young man threatened another child.
The rent's now going into a court-held account for you. You have to fix it, and then you'll get your money that you're owed.
But I'm sure he's going to handle it, and everybody who needs to be dealt with will be dealt with. But I'm just impressed with this. Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
And welcome to The Source. As you will see, our co-host, Sister Sinead Darby, is not with us today. As we always say, she's out saving the world. So we certainly wish her safe travels where she is right now, and we look forward to her coming back on next week. Kobe, this week in the news has been really tragic. It's just been so many things happening. And while we normally start with the city, I really want to go on the national level because what's going on with Tyre Nichols is just unbelievable. And I pray that by the time the airing of our show, that if they have shown the video, the police officer's video, that they will be able, everybody will stay calm. Because at the end of the day, I'm told, I happen to know his attorney personally, Crump, who is a fraternity brother of mine. It is just horrific. It is just horrific.
Yeah, so a little background about this. On January 7th, Tyre was pulled over not far from his house. I think they reported he was about 80 yards from his house when he was initially stopped for reckless driving. There was a confrontation with the cops and involved 5 officers and him. And it resulted in him being beaten so bad that he had to be taken to the hospital for shortness of breath. Originally, that's what they're quoted on saying. But he died 3 days later on January 10th. And a picture of him in the hospital on a breathing tube was released by one of his family members. It went viral. Contradicting that, he was just there because he was having a little shortness of breath. What the officer said. This man was beaten to a pulp. People have compared him, the beating, to that of a human pinata.
Yeah, I saw that.
So the officers said he experienced, the Tyre's family said he experienced, after the beating from the officers, multiple cardiac arrests, kidney failure, all because of the beating he took.
Wow.
And then his death, the cause of death hasn't officially been released to the public, but we know what it comes from.
Well, they asked for
a full investigation.
Not only that, but they're going to do an autopsy. His own family going to do one as
Correct.
well. Yeah.
Independent autopsy. Now, like you said, his attorney is world-renowned attorney Ben Crump, who's worked on a lot of cases like this all across the nation. This is sad. But this isn't anything new. We see this every year. We're talking about a case like this. Every few months, actually, we're talking about a case like this. And my heart goes out to his family. But this is why people are calling for change.
Yeah, but Kobe, as I was really looking at this, one, they said he was going because he's having some shortness of breath. That picture, and we're going to show people one of the news carriers, which is CNN, who did a very good job of trying to track as much as they can give out, to the public. But for him to be treated as no life is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very straight with those individuals who often say, but look, there were 5 black police officers. Now, while, they immediately got fired, as you had indicated before we were on the show, because that's what they'll do to us. But still, I want to make sure that they understand that when I'm covering news, when I'm talking about something, I'm dealing with humanity.
Right.
It doesn't matter that they were 5 police officers who did it. Police brutality is out of control in this country. And it's a shame that you have African Americans who are part of the system and they use their same power because Learboy and all the good stuff to do what they want to do.
And the body-worn camera footage,
Yeah.
the mayor said was to be released on January 23rd to the family. I've been in rooms like that when the body-worn camera is first released to the family, and you get to see a whole different perspective of what happened, and then the intensity behind that. But it's going to be released to the public later this
Well, they have to say when.
this month. They said by the end of January.
Right.
So as of right now, it has not been released.
Yeah, and they're trying to get everybody in order, I guess, or get everybody calm.
Yeah.
But it's going to erect
It's not.
emotions. It's going to erect emotions.
The family has already said that their son ran because he was scared of his life. He wasn't trying to get rid of guns. He wasn't trying to get rid of drugs. He didn't run for any of that. He was running because he was scared of for his life. And when you see the video, you will understand why he was scared. So they're already letting people know that this video is going to be bad.
Do you think that they may have had a personal vendetta against him because you know they were cops from the community and he was right near his home, and I don't care about the color of the cops, but do you think that maybe because for them to whip him to that for a violation for a traffic stop, it wasn't like he was suspect of drugs, it wasn't like he had shot somebody, but it was just a traffic stop, and for them to beat him to that level, a pandemic, what do they call it? A pinata. I just don't understand it, Kobe. I mean, help me to understand why would he get beat to that level? What was in their minds?
I have no clue what was going through their minds during that time, but they did not see him as a human being, and that's the issue that we have nowadays with a lot of policing. They dehumanize a lot of people now. We do have some breaking news. It literally just came up 5 minutes ago that the officers are all being charged with second-degree murder.
Okay, good.
In the death of Tyre Nichols.
Good.
It was just announced. Well, not all of them. 4 of the 5 Memphis officers involved with the case of Tyre Nichols will be charged according to the court records of attorneys of one of the ex-officers. The status of the fifth officer is unclear. The Shelby County District Attorney will provide an update later on the investigation into the death of Nichols, who died 3 days after being pulled over for alleged reckless driving.
Yeah, and very good. That's a good breaking news. And you seem like you really help us with that area because you're able to stay live as while we are recording our show. And so 4 of them obviously had been egregious perpetrators, and they just outright are going to charge them with second-degree murder. I would like to know, what does that mean? I don't know if I can put you on a spot right there when you say second degree as opposed to first degree. Well, I guess first degree were intentional. They intended to kill him. Second degree is that they killed him, I'll imagine. I hope I'm right in my assessment.
Yeah, so second degree is whenever a homicide is committed. And from my understanding, second degree, and I'm actually pulling it up so I don't give everyone the wrong thing. Second degree murder or manslaughter is still a very serious charge, but it's a step down in the severity compared to first degree. In terms, a second degree murder is one that doesn't have any kind of premeditation,
Right, that's what I was
and may only have been have a intended cause of harm rather than death, but death
occurred.
But
can I just say this to you? If they whipped him to I have not seen the video. None of us have seen the video. But if they whipped him to the level that people are describing, the family members are describing, the attorneys are describing, why would you not think it was intentional? Because it was a stop. It was a traffic stop. You know, help me.
So I think the thinking with that, right, is so that you can actually go through with the charges and get an indictment.
Okay.
Well, get an indictment, get the charges, and then get a conviction.
Okay.
If you go first degree, you can argue that it wasn't premeditated. They did not walk in and put their badges and uniforms on that day to say they're going after Tyre Nichols. They're going to kill him that day.
Proving that would be different.
Whereas second degree murder, the intent is cause serious bodily harm.
Okay.
And also, um, if I remember correctly from my law class, um, it's a disregard for human life,
Okay.
or indifference for human life, which I think this will fall under. But again, what you're going to see happen is you're still going to have individuals who are going to funnel money to these attorneys to hire on even more higher power attorneys to take them on. I'm glad the family has retained Ben Crump, who has a ton of resources at his back end. And also, I know he partners with a lot of community activists to bring out that awareness and that pressure as well too. With the NAACP, with Until Freedom, Tamika Mallory, My Son, the General, individuals like that, to make sure that we keep the spotlight on what it needs to be on.
Yeah, and even with them, somebody probably funneling money to them. Do you think that they will do that for these officers, being that they are black?
Absolutely.
They'll do, just because they're officers.
Absolutely.
Just because they are.
Absolutely. You have people who will, just because they wore the badge, they will set up GoFundMes and stuff like that.
That's a shame.
Even if they didn't wear the badge, you have certain individuals who thrive from seeing things like this.
This is ridiculous. Until it becomes your child, your brother, your sister, whoever, you don't really feel it. But I saw the mother break down during the interview, while the Caucasian attorney, I can't remember his name right now, was giving what they had observed. She couldn't even take him talking about it. That tore my heart apart.
Yeah.
And for some person to be sitting in the background saying, okay, I'm a fund to make sure these cops get off. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Unbelievable. And I would just want to say to those who continue to protect police officers who are not doing the right thing, there are many who are doing the right thing. Please don't ever think that I'm anti-police. I appreciate good policing, because a part of that has to do with understanding that you're policing human beings. But for those who want this corruption to continue, who want to continue to cover up and harm people, shame on you. Shame on you. So we're going to continue to watch this. We believe by the time our show air on Sunday afternoon, that maybe the footage is out. But I'm going to say to all of you who are in Wilmington, please talk to your grandchildren, talk to your children, talk to yourselves, that whatever it is, let's let the legal process have its way. Let's watch the judicial process. Let's not go crashing up things. Let's not go doing things inappropriate, because all it does is hurt us. When we have violence in the street, we can protest, we can share our outrage without there being, destruction. And that's what I'm hoping for. And some people think that's all we know how to do. Right. But in actuality, that's the only time when some people really react. But I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to please be civilized in this situation. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Brother Kobe?
No, that's all I had on that.
Well, what I want to do real quickly is just let you see some coverage from some of the professional news media outlets, and we'll just be right back.
We are hearing new audio from the arrest of Tyre Nichols earlier this month. He died after an encounter with police in Memphis. A civil rights investigation is now underway. Here's Elise Preston.
We are hearing for the first time dispatch audio from the night Memphis police arrested 29-year-old Tyre Nichols.
At Ross and Castlegate Lane, he's fighting at this time.
When officers say 2 confrontations took place following a traffic stop. U.S. Attorney Kevin Ritz says his office is working to determine what exactly happened the night of January 7th. Nichols, seen here bloodied and bruised, died just days later.
Our federal investigation may take some time. These things often do. But we will be diligent and we will make decisions based on the facts and the law.
At a city council meeting Tuesday, residents demanded to see police footage of the arrest. The 5 officers in the encounter, who are all black, have been fired for department violations.
It could have been your son, Miss Logan. It could have been you, Edmund Ford.
Miss Moses.
Memphis City Council Chair Martavius Jones says the community is on edge.
2 weeks later, where's the city now?
I see us having our hands on a combustible can, and we're trying to keep it contained for as long as we can.
Jones believes one thing is clear. Police training needs to be reevaluated.
This black man died at the hands of other black men that were wearing blue. Blue is the only color that matters here.
All of the fired officers had been with the Memphis Police Department for less than 6 years. Meanwhile, a funeral for Tyre Nichols will be held here in Memphis next week. Reverend Al Sharpton is expected to deliver the eulogy. John?
Elise, I was struck in your report that, quote, hand on a combustible can. What are officials in the community doing to prepare for a possible explosion of that combustible can?
Yeah, it was a very vivid image that he painted there. And I asked that council member, based on how you're describing this, are you concerned about unrest in the city? And he said, I am. So city officials have been warning people, or excuse me, have been urging people to remain calm. They've been asking them to stay patient as this investigation is kind of worked through. The DA says that he wants this investigation to be completely wrapped up before that video is released. So city leaders are asking people to just remain calm and be patient. We haven't seen anything as a physical manifestation of the city getting prepared, but I do know that city leaders have been meeting with religious leaders here in Memphis to help them kind of calm their congregations as well, John.
Elise Preston in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you, Elise.
And we're back. Well, I don't want to say anything else about that, but I just hope that everybody got a chance to see some coverage on that. I also want to now turn our attention to the 6-year-old. Listen, my children here at the center, they are 5 and then they turn 6 and they go into kindergarten. Who would have ever thought of a 6-year-old carrying a gun?
Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, a 6-year-old, and I think they said that the teacher had reprimanded the 6-year-old, pulled out a gun and shot the teacher. One shot was fired, and the teacher was the only victim. No other students were involved. No other staff was involved. The 6-year-old was taken into custody. They even put out a statement that this was not an accidental shooting.
Right.
The child intended to shoot the teacher and did. The teacher was taken to the hospital, now in stable condition, has been released, but the bullet is still in her. She's a James Madison University alum, and I know the Alumni Association, they sent out, they started a medical bill GoFundMe for her, and alumni have poured into that. But this highlights what's going on across our nation right now. It's sad that we have had more mass shootings this year than we've had days. It's sad that you can't be in school, you can't be in your grocery store, you can't be in your place of worship, you can't be in your house, you can't be pulled over at a traffic stop. It has become a epidemic throughout this nation. And what happened here wasn't a mass shooting, but it reflects the fact that we need to hold people accountable, parents accountable, who do not safely store their firearms. It's no reason, no justification why a 6-year-old should have access to a firearm into bullets.
Right.
It's no excuse.
And it has, but and then some people are debating that, should the parents be held accountable? Most definitely.
Yeah.
Whoever is in the house with that young man, and it's like, I'm raising a little girl as well, who's ready to become a teenager, and there are certain things I don't expect her to do because I don't expose her to those things. Even though she's in a world with a lot of other people. For this boy and if you look at the reporting on this, let me just back up a little bit. If you look at the reporting on this young man threatened another child. The teachers, they tried to warn the administration because, a lot of people are resigning real quickly because they know they're guilty. But this young man, this little boy knew what he was doing, but he had to be taught this behavior. How you solve your issue is that you shoot someone. This is not at random. And yes, his mom and dad, whoever's in that house, should be held accountable for that. That's my opinion. I don't know where you are with that.
No, I agree with you on that. This is, for when it comes to young kids, right? just access to firearms is one of the worst things possible because one of the highest killers of youth is self-inflicted gunshots. So take that into a point. Then take into the point that these kids now turn to a firearm and go into school to try to intimidate someone or go after your teacher now.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
back in the day, you used to just fight.
Yes. Yes.
Someone wins, someone lose.
That's right.
I'm not saying go fight, but someone wins, someone
But you know what?
loses.
No one really got seriously hurt.
No one got seriously hurt. And then you move on. All right, I lost this one. Oh, I won this one. All right, it's over.
Well, not
Beef
necessarily
squash.
no
Sometimes. But that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Now, you know, using these weapons has become normalized. They see it everywhere. They see it glorified in the media. People write movies about it, documentaries about it, which glorifies mass killers. And there are individuals out there who sit back and sees those type of things and say, that's how I want to be remembered. I want my name to be remembered, and that's how I can do it.
Wow.
And that's the sad reality.
Yeah, we live in a very litigious and stressful time.
No.
We were you said it right when you opened up. You're safe nowhere. Gun violence this is the only country where you can have the level of gun violence and still not the politicians will not be moved to outlaw, you know, like automatic weapons. Well, somebody would say, well, that gun he had wasn't automatic. It doesn't matter. We need to deal with this whole gun control in our country because it's just going to continue to lead to more and more. And I don't know what to say other than this is just too much. I want you all to just take a look at some of our professional coverage that has been happening with this whole 6-year-old in Virginia. This one teacher, this was representative of the teachers. She outlined this 3 times when different people in the school said, let's deal with this young man. This looked like the administration said, no, leave him alone. One even said that, you know, he has little pockets. And it's just there's no regard for humanity. And until something major happened. And I think that's the problem. But we're going to let you look at this and then we'll be right back.
This morning, there are new questions surrounding Rich Neck Elementary, with staffers alleging the Virginia school may have downplayed multiple warnings about the 6-year-old who shot his teacher, 25-year-old Abigail Zwerner, inside a classroom earlier this month. According to screenshots of a conversation between school employees and the superintendent, obtained by the Washington Post but not independently verified by NBC News, Zwerner raised alarms about the 6-year-old and sought assistance during the school year. Staffers writing in the chat messages like, she had asked for help several times, 2 hours prior, and all year. The Post says the messages do not detail what specific assistance Werner sought or to whom she directed her requests. In a separate message obtained by the Post but not seen by NBC News, a Rich Neck teacher also says that school officials waved away grave concerns about the 6-year-old's conduct, including one incident when he allegedly wrote a note telling a teacher he hated her and wanted to light her on fire and watch her die. That teacher said they told school officials about the note, but was allegedly told to drop the matter. According to the employee's account in the Post, the student wasn't getting the educational services he needed and sometimes wandered the school unsupervised. The boy's family speaking out for the first time Thursday, saying in a statement that their son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan that included his mother or father attending school with him and accompanying him to class every day. The week of the shooting, they say, was the first time they were not with him in class, adding, "We will regret our absence on this day for the rest of our lives." The new allegations against Rich Neck only echoing the concerns of so many frustrated teachers and parents at a packed school board meeting last week.
I asked for help and was given none, at both the school level and at the district level. I cried daily.
Listen to your teachers when they have concerns. Please, listen to them.
NBC News reached out to Zwerner, the boy's family, and the school for comment on the allegations, but we have not heard back. The Washington Post says a school district spokesperson declined to share any information about the boy's educational record, citing a federal law protecting students' privacy. The superintendent has said that they are working on improving overall safety. including adding more metal detectors in schools.
All right, Stephanie, thank you.
And we're back. Right before we go to our break for our first part of the show, I do want to let you know that Sister Sinead Darby is not with us today, as you already know, but she usually helps us as it relates to some of the local things that are going on. And we do know that for the first district candidates, we have Kobe Owens, we have Harold Gray, and we have Vincent White. And on the first is going to be the interviews, which is going to be interesting for us to observe. And I'm planning to really focus in on it. I hope and trust that you all will do so as well, because at some point, I just need you all to see the invisible hand, because there's some things that happens. So I just want you to see the invisible hand, and we're going to talk about in detail, Shanae and I, we're going to talk about in detail the outcome of this election and how it was done. And when I say election, I mean appointment. And we're going to really spend some time in. So I just want to bring it to your attention that we still got it on our docket. It's still there until we get the candidate in the first district, which is the strongest district in our city, the most voting district in our city. And we want to make sure that you get up-to-date information as it comes about. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, favorite time of the show, it's time to find out what's going on with Kobe Corner.
Yes. So first off, I want to kick off the General Assembly's back in session. And, you know, I've been biting to get some legislation to break it down for people. So 3 housing bills have been introduced. One's been heard in committee. The rest will be heard after they go on their Joint Finance Committee break for the month of February. So probably sometime the first or second week in March. Okay. So the first one that's been heard in committee, it's still in committee as of right now, is House Bill 37. Okay. And that was introduced by the prime sponsor on it is Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker from the West Side, 3rd District. That bill allows you to put it's a statewide rent escrow program that allows you to put your money in a withholding account if your landlord's not meeting all the needs. And it's a long list of things, but if you have rodents, if you have no hot water, if broken windows that haven't been replaced, leaking roof that hasn't been replaced, black mold, stuff like that. So it kind of stems from what happened with North Adams Street. So that it gives renters a extra protection to hold their landlords accountable, but also continue. The landlords can't come back and say, all right, well, you stopped paying rent, so I couldn't fix it. No, the rent's now going into a court-held account for you. You have to fix it, and then you'll get your money that you're owed.
How did the you said it's in committee?
Yes.
What, for our viewers, tell us, what does that mean? It's in committee.
Yes. So it's a House bill. So it started with the House Housing Committee. So it was voted on, and it's dead even. You have to get one more person to flip and sign the backer of it. So you need 7 votes. It has 6 as of right now. One Democrat voted with the Republicans and voting no, which tied it up, and another one went not voting. So there's still conversations going on. There's going to be some amendment to the bills, listening to the concerns of the individuals who have a little issue with the bill and seeing where we can come to a common ground on so that we can get this done and get it past the House and get it over to the Senate.
You know, when you said that, I just wished I was like CNN. I had the kind of money to do investigative research immediately, because that one Democrat or even the Republicans, they probably got a lot of properties, and a lot of times they are guilty. And I'm not saying this person is, because I don't know, but a lot of times they're guilty.
No, she was actually, I applaud her for being very upfront with some of the concerns about it. And then she also talked about her own background as a landlord and the property she holds, and how this would affect, how it's differently going to affect different counties as well, too. So she represents the Sussex area. And I think it was a very valid concern, which warranted a little more one-on-one conversation about the bill and the implementations it may have for a smaller landlord as well. And that's not the goal, right? The goal isn't to knock out mom and pop landlords, right? It's to make sure that any landlord is in reason handling conditions that are happening within their properties that they're renting out and being paid for people to live there.
Yeah, and I think first of all, I don't want to knock out mom and pop, but mom and pop got to make sure they're doing their business too. So if there's some black mold, mom and pop shouldn't get their money neither.
Right.
If there's broken windows, mom and pop shouldn't get their money neither.
Correct.
I just don't understand based on the limited knowledge that I have of the HB 37 bill. It's dealing with just some basic things, some basic fundamental things to make sure that it's happening. And if it is not, then it goes into an escrow. I don't know who's going to hold that money. Will the state hold that money? Or
The court system would.
the court system would hold it, and then once it's fixed, it goes back to the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
No, I agree with you on that. The next bill, this all has to do with housing. The next bill is the Homeless Bill of Rights.
Okay.
So not being able to discriminate against an individual because of their housing status. So that's not looking for just the people who you see every day, maybe on the street. These are people who are the working poor, right? They're working homeless, the individuals who have jobs but can't make ends meet, so they're sleeping in their car or they're or couch surfing, in need of vouchers and stuff like that. So this it's a huge undertaking, but it's something that's advocates have been fighting for on a state level for such a long time. Representative Sean Lynn is the prime sponsor of this bill. He's from the Dover area, but he's kind of taken that mantle on. The former state senator Margaret Rose Henry was the previous main champion of it. So again, it's this is going to be ongoing, but this is also a fight that a lot of people have been in for a long time. And then the last thing I want to talk about is something that I've been a part of for a while, is a renter's bill of rights.
Okay.
And right to representation.
The HB 55.
That's SB1.
SB1. I'm sorry.
So renters' right to representation when they're going through eviction cases and stuff like that. Why this matters so much, and why all three of these bills matter so much, is it all goes into my next point as well. But this bill would provide legal counsel for individuals facing eviction. In the state of Delaware, 83% of eviction people facing eviction went to court without legal representation. That number is almost mirrored on the other side, where 80% of the landlords went to court with someone representing them, or they just simply sent someone to represent them. They weren't even there in person. This bill will kind of even the playing field and make sure that renters aren't being taken advantage of. For simply speaking out to ask about, hey, are you going to fix this? Or are you going to fix that? Oh, you're done, right? It's not that they're behind or anything like that. Now, if they are behind, there is a portion that people are pushing for to give time for mediation, so that if the renter can come up with the money in time, to allow them to stay in the place and make sure they pay their bill. Now, this all comes together, and this is my second point that I wanted to talk about today. It all comes together because President Biden and the Harris administration has been meeting with Black leaders. It's a group that I've been a part of, and we meet once every 2 weeks. And I know they've met with other group housing advocates and stuff like that. They have released a blueprint to a renter's bill of rights, with the understanding that safe, quality, accessible, affordable housing is key to a sustainable life. Clean and fair leases, education, enforcement, and enhancement of renter rights, the right to organize, and eviction prevention, diversion, and relief is the core values that we need to make sure that we're enhancing the housing stock in America, to make sure we're keeping people housed, and lowering the burden of that being on the government when people are unhoused. So this is going to be a exciting new project for the Biden administration. Like I just listed, the 5 I call them common sense principles to safe housing in America. And we're gonna kind of use this framework to come up with even better bills and more housing bills here in the state of Delaware, and make sure that we're empowering those who are coming together, especially the renters. A major point in this is the right to organize. In other states, there are tenant councils. There's tenant unions. We need that here in Delaware.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Next, I want to talk about something going on at DSU.
Yeah, I was shocked to see this. I'm interested in hearing about this one.
So, students gathered last Wednesday over sexual assault on campus and police brutality on campus. And it wasn't just a small protest. Over 200 students formed a rally outside of the public safety building. And the protest went on to the next day as well. Even more students joined, so much that it led to a ad hoc town hall listening conversation that I just want to say I'm going to give hats off to President Tony Allen.
Good.
The meeting started at 6 p.m. I was actually in a different state, and I said, "Oh, if I get back in time, I'll come down." I got back. I know it had to be like 10:30. I got back to Wilmington, and I was texting someone who was there, and they said, "No, we're still going." That meeting ended up going until 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And President Allen stayed. He listened. He heard the concerns, and he said, he's going to go back and try to come up with solutions. But every student who wanted to speak out was able to. You had the passion, the anger in their voices and everything. But the overall concern is the safety of students on campus. And this all comes out of the fact that a report was released saying that there was only 7 sexual assaults on the college campus, where many of the people who have been sexually assaulted complained about how the officers disregarded their complaints, and how in some incidents when there have been found to be sexual assault taking place, and the person who committed the sexual assault was only suspended for a few months or for a semester and then able to come back on campus. It made people feel very unsafe, and it got to a point where they felt as though they needed to speak out. And then they also spoke out about the excessive use of force,
Right.
with officers engaging with students, and then also sometimes those officers being very slow to respond to calls or ignore complaints as well too.
Yeah, and as I was listening to you, first let's go back to the sexual assault.
Yeah.
We send our children to colleges and universities so that they may be educated. But whenever there's an issue, we should always, especially of that magnitude, it should always be number one reported. Because what about if I'm trying to get my child to go to a school and they are misrepresenting their numbers?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's just not good. So and number two, if they even if what they are reporting is correct, but because they're so lax in handling them, then that's not good either. So hats off to the students there, and I know Tony Allen is very good at what he does, and he's a good listener and he know how to solve issues too. So sometimes people look at presidents and heads of states and things of that nature and blame them for everything that goes wrong. But in actuality, he has a plethora of people who works with him to keep Del State rolling. And I'm glad they didn't lay all the blame at his feet. But I'm sure he's going to handle it, and everybody who needs to be dealt with will be dealt with.
Yeah.
And God forbid if we got police officers down there who are being disruptive. That's the best language I can use, because at this point, we're gonna have to. I hope that he will be able to just roll some heads, because we just definitely don't want that.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to be following the lead of the students as well too, who've reached out and asked for support as well too. They are scared. They talk about the actual when there is an actual sexual assault that is reported. They just get a text message that says no more information or anything like that. So they want better communication when incidents like that happen, so that they can be aware of their own personal surroundings as well too.
And now I guess we'll look into it to see most of the sexual assaults are people who are known by the person who assaulted them, or there's not like it's an outright person from the community or somewhere else.
So it's both.
Oh.
It's a little bit of both.
There's no, and for those of you who are watching this, please don't think I think there's okay, if I know the person, it's all right, and if you don't know the person, it doesn't. But there's another level of fear, is when a person don't even know people and they're coming on campus or whatever,
Right.
and they're sexually assaulting the children.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both there. But most of it is student on student.
Okay, understood. Okay.
Oh yes,
You got one more.
Sorry, I was thinking. But yes, my last point here was there has been deadly wrecks in the city of Wilmington, right? Fatal car accidents, and families were recently reading a report and realized that the numbers weren't adding up. And come to find out, there was some misreporting on behalf of the Wilmington PD when it came to traffic deaths in the city of Wilmington. This is Delaware's largest city. They did not publicly acknowledge that the fatalities happened. Therefore, they reclassified them as just regular accidents instead of accidents that resulted in death.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess parents, not parents, but families realized that their loved ones' numbers were not being reported, that they had died in an accident or was hit by a car and died. Who's in charge of the numbers, reporting the numbers?
Yeah, so that's up in the air. The spokesperson for the police department said that they weren't aware of the previous practice, but they're going to be revising things now.
What do you mean by previous practices?
Of not reporting.
I have so much issue when people don't just take you in the seat right now. You need to make sure you understand what wasn't reported yesterday, even though you were in the receipt yesterday and today. I just, what do you mean? I don't understand that.
Yeah, so that's the only excuse that was given. But former police officer and professor at West Virginia, he actually oversees the sociology department, Jim Nolan, said that, regardless, there's been an approach to policing practice in Wilmington over the last 4 decades that encourages a lot of secrecy and detachment from the community. And it's time for a new and more promising approach that recognizes police and community are one, and that you have to have that open line of communication in order to start building that trust again.
Yeah, and it starts with the administration, and I'm not against your administration. You always think, I am, but I am not. But transparency starts at the head. And if the head does it, it causes everybody else to do it. One of the things that we do here at our center is that if a child have a boo-boo or make a mistake or something happens, a scratch or another 2 children,
Let the parent know.
The parent has to know. Not only does the parent have to know, but have to know the details. Why? Because they trust us to care for their children. And if we hiding something, how do they ever trust us?
Right.
If we want to have true policing in the city of Wilmington, we got to make sure that we can trust the people who are supposed to be carrying it out. Hiding stuff is not going to help us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some serious issue with that. But again, I hope we have no more misreporting, because if we have more misreporting in the city of Wilmington, then it's going to open up Pandora's box for a lot of other things. So I'll kind of leave it there. Is there anything else on your table today?
That is all I had under this section.
Well, listen, you have really given us a whole lot, especially with those bills. I'm very grateful that we're the focus, especially Sherry Dorsey, the focus of the housing and homelessness, as well as others, and the governor. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, about the governor's budget, because that's some good news is in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he's putting his money where his mouth is. And we're going to talk about 5 takeaways and when we come back from this break. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, in this last segment, Kobe, I just want to really flush out and say hats off to the governor, because I think that he did a very good job with this budget. Normally, when governors are at this point of their career after spending 6 years in office, they're pretty much, let me just get out of here.
Yeah.
But this budget is really impressive. And I was very grateful for even the News Journal, who did a very good job of sharing some takeaways. But there are 5 takeaways that I want to make sure that the people who are watching us are well aware of with this budget. And the first one, and we'll do all 5, but the first one is a historical increase for state workers. I think that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, so the state workers they're referring to is the teachers, right?
Okay.
So it's going to be a 9% pay increase for teachers, right? That's almost unheard of at any
Absolutely.
given time. And he's doing this with the understanding. If you have kids or grandkids, you probably heard people complain about it's not enough teachers right now.
Absolutely.
Teachers are leaving and going to other states because of higher pay,
Yeah.
and also because of burnout, flat out burnout. They're being overworked, mainly because it's not enough teachers to back them up, right? It's not enough teachers, so classroom sizes increase, and it's just too big of a workload on them. Honestly, I think they should get paid what the governor gets paid. But after sitting in, I've sat in on a few virtual classes. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
And then also being in the classroom as well too. It's just teaching is a skill, but also being able to corral 30 to 40
Classroom management. Yeah.
young kids
Yeah. Yeah.
and get them to focus in on something. That's a whole nother task right
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
So that is a huge opportunity for individuals who are going into teaching,
Right.
and individuals who've been there for years as well. And it helps in like schools like the city that's had high turnover rate. We have some schools in the city that have 70% of teachers are gone within a 3-year period. So you're starting from new every 3 years almost.
Yeah, and we're not saying that, more money will cause us to have better teachers. What we're saying is we will be able to maintain more than anything
Correct.
our good teachers because we can pay them better. 9% is historical. And I hope that at the next administration, or if he does next year's budget, give him another 9. I believe that teachers deserve every dime we can give them. All too often, they're the lowest paid individuals, but they have the greatest expectations. Well, that was number 1. So thumbs up to the governor for that historical wage increase. But then he also added in there a tax relief with the hopes of getting more people back to work.
Yeah.
Man, I'll let you start and then I'll just say
No, so this is a huge initiative that he's been working on with business leaders, with the state as well too. It's 37,000 job openings, right?
Yeah.
And
I have
that's
2 here now.
that's throughout
Yeah.
that's throughout the state of Delaware as a business community. But only 21,000 residents are currently looking for jobs. There's 2,000 openings at state agencies, right? So looking at how you can really fill those numbers of jobs to meet the workforce demands here. So that it's gonna be interesting to see how he works that tax relief in, but also pitting the money behind actually recruiting individuals, and getting them into the positions and getting them the proper qualifications is what's going to be really needed, and that's probably where the tax relief is going to come in on.
Do you think that we were given too much money? Because I hear that argument, and there are some say, heck no. And then there are some who agree with some, I halfway believe. But do you think that during COVID, too much money was given away? Because we came out of COVID where there's no workers.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because that money has stopped now, right? So
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
Because the food stamps are still strong.
Yes, that's still strong and that's still needed, especially with inflation.
Yeah.
But also, I have my own issues with food stamps. The fact that they don't have more healthy options on there, right? Which cause more health issues, which creates larger health disparities, which lead to, shorter lifespans and stuff like that. Overall, I think there could have been more money given. I think it could have been given
Listen
it
to the
more
liberals.
in an equitable way, right?
Okay.
That first package that came out under the Trump administration gave so much money to the banks, right? To give to small businesses, to make sure those small businesses stay open. Most of those small businesses did not get the money that they needed, and especially not the minority small businesses. Why? Because those banks traditionally don't work with minority small businesses. So yet again, it created an even bigger gap between businesses, especially minority businesses. So yeah, I think more money could have been given to make up for the difference, since Trump already had given that out. That it could have been given to Black financial institutes that traditionally do the business with Black businesses.
Okay. All right. Well, we hope that the tax relief will make people say,
Yeah.
"I want to get a job," and because I'll get more money in my check
Correct.
if my state taxes are a little bit lower than it was before. So I'll say thumbs up to that one. Massive spending into my area, early education as children begin to fall behind is what the newspaper reported. $150 million.
Yeah, so one of the biggest increases in that budget is the early childhood assistance program, which helps children 3 and 4. That is doubling, which is amazing, right? It's going to help a lot of people. A part of that money is also the 50 million that's being spent towards opportunity funding as well too. Which will go to low-income students, English learners, and public schools.
Okay.
And make the money also the money being counted in that 150 is also money that's now going to the Women to Learning Collaborative, moving that budget up to almost $10 million of operating budget to make sure that is a well-funded collaborative that works and can be used as a blueprint to fix our broken system here. And the governing body is going to oversee that money as well too. But all those 3 projects all together, it's really going to look to enhance enhance solutions for the problems we have. And the problem is we're not overwhelmingly proficient in English. We're not proficient in math. We are behind in reading skills. So it's a lot of work that we need to do as a state.
Yeah, and I just again, we early education is the foundation.
Yeah.
I think that he's moving in the right direction to want to invest in the foundation. I hope that the teachers will whatever centers, because one of the things I think the state did wrong when they gave out that money before is they gave out the money and a lot of the centers did not invest in their teachers.
Yeah.
So now we got a shortage because teachers got burnt out. They decided, I don't want to work for your child anymore. But I hope that there be a line which that says, we will give you this, but 80% of it has to go, or 60%, 20%, whatever the amount percentage is,
Right.
to make sure that you are paying your teachers none less than. Because I think that's how we get quality and we get continuity. And that's what's needed as we're looking at early childhood. Thumbs up on that endeavor of spending with the early childhoods as well. Let me also go with the large investment in affordable housing, $101 million.
Yeah. So part of that money is a part of the money going over to Women to the East Side. That's actually a huge chunk of it, 55 million. Which is federally funded money, will go towards rehabilitating blighted properties over the east side of Wilmington. We've been talking about this for a while now. They also hope to that's to re-energize that community around the new Bancroft project, right? The first new school to be built in the city of Wilmington, I believe, in 40 years.
Wait, over there, that big building's going to be a new school?
Yes. So what they tore down was the Drew Administrative Building.
Right.
The school's still open
Right.
as of right now. By the end of this year, when the kids come back next year, they will come back to the new building, and then they will tear down the old school. The current Bancroft building will get torn down and become fields and playgrounds and stuff like that for the students.
Okay.
So again, this is the first new school being made or being built here in the city of Wilmington, but also outside of that, another 46 million dollars is going to be invested in the Dover and Milford housing authorities to build more affordable housing down there to meet the demands. Again, this is a great step hats off to the governor. We still have a long way to go. We are at 18,000 units in the hole
Yeah.
when it comes to affordable housing here. This is going to take a big chunk out of that, but we're still going to be over 12,000 housing units in the hole.
And it's growing.
And it's growing. I think there's some other things that we can do just on the back end of things, of setting up a registry for all rental properties in the state of Delaware, so we know exactly what pricing is, how many units are out there, and how we can get people in those units a little bit quicker. The huge portion of finding affordable housing is finding a house, right? That may not be on the Zillows or the whatever different websites you go to find rental properties here.
Yeah. Well, that's thumbs up on the investment for affordable housing. The last one we have is the funding for this whole thing of clean water.
Yes. So clean drinking water, making sure we have quality drinking water here, addressing lead in our school systems as well too, lead in our school water as well too, and making sure that we're working with the EPA on things like that. This all ties into the whole push to be a more environmental friendly and a more green state. Also, a part of that funding for environment is also the EV electric vehicle funding as well too, and building that infrastructure out as well too. The tax credits that from the federal government that's also allocated there as well too. So we have a lot that's going on here, but one of the basic needs for anyone is a safe place, a safe and warm an affordable place to live, and clean drinking water, for not only for you to drink, but to shower, to brush your teeth, to grow your food. We should not be ingesting certain toxins into our body. So I'm extremely happy that our governor is putting some resources towards that. And we look forward to seeing what programs and what changes are going to happen.
Yeah, and that's, the whole flush out is going to be very important, and we
Right.
plan to report on it as well so that we can see it. But I do want to say that I've watched many governors. Well, I've only really knew one, but knew two since I've been here. But I'm just impressed with this budget. Maybe because we're in a time of crises and we're seeing some of the crises being addressed, not resolved. Because we don't want to act as if, someone has come in and become the savior, but it's being addressed and it's being paid attention to, and it's for those who are certainly in need. And I'm very glad, especially on the east side. I mean, that's going to be a blessing to see that whole system built up,
And I just want to break down the budget overall a little
Okay.
bit more. So this is the largest budget ever proposed.
Okay.
It's sitting at $4.99 billion dollars.
Right.
Sorry, $4.99 billion. Nets up after the general budget is the 1.8 or 1.18 capital budget, which is projects, right? And the 7.5 or $57 million grant and aid budget, as well as $215 million for proposed one-time spending costs as well too. This the capital budget is just a slightly smaller than last year's record-breaking $1.36 billion budget, but that's also because we have a lot of federal infrastructure money from the bipartisan infrastructure bill coming into the state over the next few years. So he was able to take some money out of that, working with our finance secretary for the state. Also, $15 million went into the budget stabilizing fund, which is just another fund that we can pull from if we do hit those, it's rainy day funds.
Right,
If,
right.
the state's ever in a situation like it was in 2017.
Okay, good. Well, it looks like, we started off the show today talking about some very horrendous things that happened, but then we end the show today talking about the good stuff that the governor is doing. Governor Carter, hats off to you. While we have criticized everyone, when we see things that are wrong, we want to make sure that we say congratulations on seeing the needs of the people and trying to address them. What you are proposing in your budget, even with the infrastructure money, it's just, you could have gone a different way. You could have sat on it. You could have overlooked the communities that are marginalized. But you seem like you're really trying to address the heart of it. So we just want to, say hats off to you and thumbs up. And I hope that you will continue, and those who are around you will use the money, disperse the money appropriately so that everything will go well. Well, Kobe, we've spent today together without our sister Shanae. She's not with us, but I do got some good news for you. I had a conversation with our originator, part of the source, Jay Street. I called him this week and see how he was doing. He's doing great. I told him, I said, when we get to our 100th show, which we're coming up on it,
Yes.
I said, I need you to come back just to do that show. He said, look, I'll do the best I can, and I'm going to do it. He's going to do it because I know how he talks when he's ready to move forward. But I'm grateful that I can announce that on our 100th show, and we're going to let you know what that show will be. We're going to have Jay come back, and he's going to come off the battlefield for me because he ain't never stopped fighting. He never stopped trying to make sure he take care of the little man. He's up and down the state handling his business with the NAACP, as well as in the county council. But I just want to let you know that I did talk to him, and he is going to do so the trio will be back together one more time. And I don't know what we're going to talk about, but whatever it is, it should be good.
Yes.
You got anything else on your desk today?
That's all I have for today.
Well, that's all I have, and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so very much for watching us every week. It is a joy and a privilege to do the research, to be able to give you the information that we give you. Until the next time we get together, see ya.
Take care, y'all.